We are just over 1 month away from kickoff in the EFL Championship 25-26 season. Let's check in with them, their bookies, and you, the market. What are the odds? And have they been moving since we last checked out this info? Get your views in the comments. We're going to start at the bottom where someone's been drifting down, down, down. I bet you can all guess who that is. Our big mover in the bottom 7 is, of course, Sheffield Wednesday. Outright chaos at Hillsborough at the moment. We hope it all gets sorted. Mr. Chansiri has not been paying the bills. The EFL are now getting involved. We have a soft kind of transfer embargo. It could get worse. It needs to get sorted out. The longer it goes, the worse it gets. The lower down this list Sheffield Wednesday are going to go. They are the big drop here. Everything else pretty stable here. Wednesday were joint 18th last time, and they are now coupled up there with Charlton to be relegated, essentially, is what the market is saying next season. So Wednesday, as you can imagine, the big movers there. Oxford are still on the bottom. Someone's got to be bottom. Don't get triggered, Oxford fans. Don't shout at me. There is something you can do. If you disagree with the bookmakers' odds, you can take some money off them. So, yeah, maybe head over there. Please gamble responsibly, of course, rather than yelling at me. I'm just reporting what the odds are. So Charlton now tied with Wednesday, as we've said. And that is a thing down in the relegation zone. If your goal is to stay up, can you be just the 4th worst team? That will do the job for you. We've got 3 tied up there. Pompey, Preston and QPR. Of course, Julian Stephan now in QPR. We'll see how that affects things. I think they might come in a little bit shorter. They've signed a couple of contracts and who was the good signing? Poku in from Peterborough as well. So I think maybe there may be some optimism next time we do this in terms of QPR. Preston went early in the transfer market as well. They've bought a few in. Not much going on at Pompey yet. I'm sure there will be by the time we reach kickoff. I've had to include Derby in a bottom 7. You'll see why in a minute to detach them. I think I said last time, it's probably some value to be had on Derby with where they are in terms of the market, in terms of the odds. I've got a sense of optimism about them with Eustace already, how last season ended, and looks like they're making moves already in the transfer market. We'll get to that on a separate video. Get all your views in the comments. There is your bottom 7. Sheffield Wednesday, unsurprisingly, the big movers there. Let's move into the middle order. I can't do a nice, neat bottom half here because we have so many teams grouped together where the bookies are hedging their bets and the markets are not really moving on that big blob there in the middle. And the only drifter here is Bristol City. We'll get to them in a second. Hull and Blackburn there, you can see, tied in 16th. That has not moved since last time. Hull maybe will go shorter when Mr. Ilachali, as he tends to, will spend a load of money in the transfer window, but maybe people aren't sure. It's another unknown to us in the EFL manager in there. And yeah, so last time, this blob of teams there with Watford, Swansea, Stoke and Millwall did not include Bristol City. Bristol City have actually drifted from 20-1 to 33-1 to win the championship outright. So I don't know what the thinking is there. I think maybe the market was just a little bit laggy in terms of, I guess, Bristol City, maybe an overachievement last season and then the manager leaving who oversaw that overachievement. Obviously with Manning going off to Norwich. Struber has been announced since then. I'm sure it's not a vote of no confidence in terms of Struber. I just think it's probably the way the odds were set were maybe with the league table last season as a starting point, and there's obviously mitigating factors that might pull Bristol City back a little bit from their lofty 6th placed finish last season. Get your views on the middle order there. Right, here is the top half. Let's deal with West Brom first because that is a drift. 16-1 out to 20-1. And what that does is that detaches West Brom from Norwich and Wrexham. So those three were being grouped together by the bookies and the market. And the market now says they don't like West Brom as much as Norwich and Wrexham. I don't know if that's a vote of no confidence against Ryan Mason, because that's the one big bit of information we've had at the Hawthorns since we last did it. It's not that Norwich and Wrexham are more fancied and have been backed in. It is a drift on West Brom. And they've kind of traditionally, I remember Jack, who came on the channel talking odds with me before, saying their spiritual home in 5th place. They're drifting away from that the further we get from, the parachute era and the Carlos Corberan era. Hopefully the Ryan Mason era is great, but at the moment they are drifting towards the middle, away from the playoffs and away from Norwich and Wrexham, who are currently seen still as outsiders for the playoffs. I think there's value there with Norwich, and I've said it a few times on the channel. I like what they've been doing this summer. Wrexham's a bit of an unknown quantity. We'll see how they land. There's probably going to be no value in terms of Wrexham because there's such a big story that they'll get backed in whatever happens. Now, we have Coventry, Leicester and Middlesbrough tied 5th. Now, Coventry and Borough were attached to another team who we're going to talk about in the next slide. I think you can all guess who that particular side is. They have both drifted. I wonder whether that's more a consequence of that team getting backed in rather than a lack of confidence in Coventry and Borough. Obviously, we've had Rob Edwards go in at Borough since we last did this. So they've got Coventry, Leicester and Borough all tied together now in joint 5th position. It's a difficult one there because if you're kind of counting it down, one of those is not going to be in the top 6, but they're tied 5th on the same odds if you look at the way we do this. We are expecting a drift on Leicester at some point. They're still being backed. People who still fancy going with Leicester, actually, even if a points deduction does come. The manager has been sacked. We need a new manager to go in. And we are expecting at some point some kind of word from the EFL. So I would not be surprised. I'm not saying Coventry are going to reattach and Borough, excuse me. Let me start that sentence again. I'm not saying Coventry and Borough are going to reattach to the team that they've just detached from in the top 4. But I think Leicester might drift down towards Norwich and Wrexham. But it's that question of how hard do you go? It's still a year 1 parachute team. It's still a powerful club. Let's find out who the manager's going to be. And let's see if and how much of a points deduction there could be for Leicester and how badly that can affect them. I do accept the argument people were making. Well, Ben, last year, Sheffield United finished, 24 points ahead of Bristol City. So they're going to deducted 24 points. I doubt it. So maybe they are in the right place there with a 5 next to them. Right. Let's round this out and finish up with the top 4. And the team, of course, we were alluding to that have now detached themselves from, it was Coventry and Borough, is Birmingham City. And they're just white hot in the betting. They're that side that is such a dark horse that they're a light horse that, when were Birmingham actually a dark horse? They would have been a dark horse for Championship promotion in about September last year, but since those points were piled on, since they did the transfer business they did, everyone's been sweet on Birmingham. So they've now moved away from Coventry and Borough. They're on their own as the 4th favourites to win the Championship next season. Backed in from 10-1 to 9-1. Would anybody be surprised if that's going even shorter as we get up to August the 8th, an opening game, Birmingham versus Ipswich? By the way, I bet they'll get back to high heaven to win that game. And, on the TV, maybe cause an upset if you're looking at that on opening day. But yeah, Birmingham, we know the reasons why, excuse me. Absolutely white hot in the betting. And they are now on their own in 4th as opposed to tied 4th where they were last time. The only other movement, believe it or not, in the top 4 is Sheffield United have actually come in, which I don't understand. Maybe someone can explain to me in the comments. So Sheffield United have gone in. Just take a sip of my drink, guys. Sorry, I'm struggling. Sheffield United have gone in from 9-1 to 8-1. And since we did this, they've replaced Chris Wilder with Ruben Celes. And we are expecting Vinny Souza, Arnel Ahmedhodzic, Gus Harmer to be the subject of bids, and maybe one or other or a couple or some of them or all three of them, I don't know, you tell me, going to be leaving the club. But they've been backed in. So I don't know why that is, whether that's a recent thing since Celes has gone in and we now know who the manager is going to be, but we don't really know what the team's going to look like, even going into round one, let alone the end of the transfer window. So I don't get that. Maybe you can explain why, but Sheffield United is our other mover and there's confidence in the market on Sheffield. Maybe people just like the price. Maybe that's it. And maybe it's not the likelihood. Maybe it's the price people like. And I suppose if you're going each way on Sheffield United to finish in the top three, then maybe I've explained it myself. Get your thoughts in via the comments. And finally, the top two, according to the bookies and the market, it has not changed in the slightest. It's going to be a long day with this voice, isn't it? Southampton tipped to finish second. Ipswich tipped to finish first. Saints at 11-2. Ipswich at 9-2. Nothing much has happened since. Will Still, was that confirmed before? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Will Still was confirmed between June the 2nd and July the 2nd. I could be wrong about that. But there's some bids coming at Southampton. It looks like they're going to be able to raise a good bit of money. Is it Sulemana who's closest to leaving so far? And some sense of stability there. Certainly, I think the reason why you've got Ipswich and Southampton is of the 3-year one parachute teams, there's an obvious outlier in Leicester where we're expecting far more chaos. I would say in terms of chaos, I would expect more churn at Ipswich in terms of ins and outs. Ipswich need a new central midfield and they've sold Liam Delap. Whereas Southampton, I don't know, is there more of a basis there that they'll just be adding a few things, whereas Ipswich have got to replace a few things? I don't know, but boring as it is, we can all understand why 2 year one parachute teams would be first and second in the betting. There we go. Have your say in the comments. So to recap, I'm sure no one will disagree with the reasons why Sheffield Wednesday have been drifting. Utter chaos there. They're now backed to be relegated next season. Bristol City, that does feel sensible. And it does feel, if you were in front of that there's a bit of an obvious drift, wasn't it? West Brom have moved out a little bit. Birmingham continue to heat up. And Sheffield United backed in ever so slightly. But automatic promotion still, according to the bookies and the market, will be won by Ipswich Town and Southampton. Relegated, we're looking at Oxford, Charlton and Sheffield Wednesday. Get me your thoughts down there in the comments. As always, this is not an opinion video. I've given some opinions, but it's all just based on the odds. So let's try and come at this with humility and calmness. Please don't get triggered if you don't like the odds of something. And as I said earlier in the video, whilst we advocate responsible gambling, if you really, really feel strongly that your team is undervalued by the bookies, then you can either moan at some poor guy who doesn't set the odds on the internet, or you can take some money off the bookies and enjoy it that way. I know what the more kind of brave thing to do would be. So yeah, have a look at that, and we'll be back, I guess, at the start of August. We'll have another crack at this. Keep following. We'll put it in a playlist as well throughout the season, and have a little look up there. That's another clip from my interview with Kieran Maguire that's going to be dropping in full tomorrow as we talk Leicester City, and Kieran gives his views on what may be coming down the road in terms of the EFL and sanctions for the Foxes this coming season.